Hello, I am Seamless, and today is Friday, which means it's time for a new How to Bass. And today I'm going to show you how to make this sound. So, it's actually been a while since I've messed with Serum at all, let alone made any kind of content with it. And I've had some tables here and there, which I actually like a lot. I like the table sort of wavetable creation aspect of Serum, but I haven't really used its sort of synthesis capabilities a whole lot. So I decided to try and make a sound that I liked using pretty basic stuff that it offers. And so I'm using two waveforms here, and what they are really is a triangle wave that I am bending here, and a saw wave, and there's FM. That's pretty much the core of what's happening, but let's kind of break it down. We've got the main oscillator is oscillator A, which is a saw wave. I have phase and randomness all the way off, which is to say that it plays the waveform and it plays at the same spot every time, which it doesn't do by default, if you didn't know that. I have the warp mode set to be FM from B. I have B on and I turn level off, so we're not actually hearing anything out of B, but we are hearing its impact on oscillator A. I have been plus minus engaged, which means that when it gets to be around the halfway position, which I have on this macro setup here, it just starts off with by default. The halfway point is the no bend, and then it bends so much one way, and then bends so much the other way. But I kind of picked one direction. I could have just picked bend plus or bend minus, but I was experimenting with plus and minus, which I like to do, and that's why I kind of kept it. And I also have engaged unison on oscillator B, which hilariously you can do in Serum. You can actually have a multiple voiced oscillator frequency modulate another oscillator. However, it limits itself to two oscillators, which is to say that if I were to go to any higher voice in unison count, it would actually still behave like it's a two voice result. So keeping it at two voices is pretty much, what's happening. All there is to that. I've also come in here and I set the width to 0, but that doesn't actually matter. It was because I was experimenting with the unison on here, and I kind of wanted to keep it in the center. But it doesn't matter what width is set to the two voices on the FM oscillator. It'll still behave as if it were two and centered. So it's pretty cool stuff there. Now, what I also have it set to be plus 1 octave. Now, the cool part about having done that is that even though, while it's at regular waveform, the regular triangle waveform that starts out as, it does what we've discussed in previous How to Bass videos, where it does the whole square type harmonic presence as a result of being an octave higher than the fundamental tone, which is the note that we're playing in the carrier oscillator. But because of the bending, while it's bending, it actually kind of brings back a little bit of that saw wave harmonic, but it still kind of emphasizes the square harmonics. So we get a little bit of the best of both worlds, which is kind of nice. It helps that the original tone is also a saw wave, so that means that it's still going to have that in there no matter what. This LFO that I've got going on here actually is engaged on the level of oscillator A, and the level of the sub, and they're different. So that when the sub goes down, the level goes up, that kind of thing. And that is actually mimicking the result of phase cancellation that you would get when you do like a Reese kind of thing before distortion, because I am doing distortion in the effects there. And so what that phase cancellation does is that it will take out that fundamental frequency, which forces the other harmonics to be louder pre-distortion, which means you can hear it more, and then when the sub comes back, it gets louder and it pushes out the rest of the harmonics. So that's where I get that kind of wobble from. And I'm doing this manually using the LFO. Now, I'm also taking the note, the note tracker here, and I've created this graph so that like the bass range of notes kind of is more or less the whole range, so that it gets faster as you go higher and it gets slower as you go lower, as if it were actually note-based phase cancellation. So we're kind of mimicking that particular process, but we have it under our control. We can create our own shapes. We can move the presence. We can change, a lot of things that we have are under our control now because of this particular feature that we can use that with. What else? I've engaged noise, and I've also put the LFO on the noise level so that it kind of introduces itself there. The noise itself was mostly just there for kind of a character increase to give it a little graininess, that kind of thing. In the effects, just have the default tube distortion turned all the way up, and I put an EQ with the frequency in the low pass all the way up, but then the Q is actually down a little bit to kind of roll off on the highs because there are a lot of highs, and that's so that we don't destroy hearing too hard. Now the macro, when it goes all the way down, it doesn't actually turn FM off. It just brings the FM down to a point where it still kind of sounds like the filter's down kind of thing, kind of deal. You can of course change the range for this kind of thing, and also if you don't want the LFO to be doing its thing, you don't have to do that either. But that's the beauty of being able to be in control of this sort of stuff, is that you can change more or less any of these normally difficult to predict parameters that normally you might want to accomplish with phase cancellation and FMing something else, and then having it do that while not changing pitch and that kind of thing, and all these things that are difficult to kind of control in a purely subtractive sense. But we were able to sort of think of we are basically doing this additively because we're doing the sub and the rest of the frequencies independently as individual harmonics, and we're considering it like that. So even though this is wavetables that we're using as primarily as a subtractive synth with a little bit of FM involved, we can still think of things in additive terms. So that's despite, the sound that we're making here is not terribly impressive, but I did kind of want to start my focus on Serum with some particularly simplistic activities. And like anything else I do, I'm able to complicate anything. Anyway, this preset is available for download in the description of this video. If you have any questions about this, let me know. And as usual, have a nice day.